Sundown in the original Dying Light was so impressive to watch that even the zombies would stop to admire it every night. And it struck me recently that after more than a year playing the sequel, I hadn't yet stopped to watch a sunset in Villedor, and surely they must have improved over the first game, right? Well, imagine my surprise when I turned towards the horizon to watch the spectacle, and then this happened. So much for Dying Light, it was more like someone switched off the light. I couldn't believe I'd not noticed this before, and now felt compelled to take a closer look at the whole day and night cycle in Dying Light 2, and you may be surprised at what I found. The original Dying Light was so cool because the prospect of being caught outside after sundown was literally terrifying, and they built the whole game around this concept. But it was more than just a concept. Techland really did a fantastic job in creating a realistic day and night cycle. The sun rose from the east and steadily moved in an arc over the city and finally sunk behind the horizon in the west, making it a fairly accurate representation of a planet that orbits the sun every day, albeit much faster than in reality, of course. The sun shone with brilliant rays that really did shimmer and change when they hit the cloud formations, and they even added realistic lens flare effects, and the end result is still pretty stunning for an 8-year-old game. So it's very disappointing then that the DL2 day cycle turns out to be more a case of smoke and mirrors to cover up the corners that seem to have been cut. Now, I'm not saying Dying Light 2 is a bad game, and if you haven't already played it, then there is still so much fun to be had with it. I love the parkour and the paraglider elements, but what I'm going to show you is yet another example of how unfinished the game still is more than a year after its release. The Dying Light 2 day cycle starts with red clouds on the horizon, and as the sky steadily gets brighter, you fully expect the sun to peep out from that cloud where the light source is coming from. But in fact, it just seems to fade in from the blue way above it. What's worse is that original light source behind the cloud still lingers there for a while as the sun gets steadily brighter. The sun then stays completely static in the same spot for about 4 minutes before the sky mysteriously clouds over, completely obscuring it. And that is our first example of the visual trickery they've employed to hide what's really going on here. Everything remains static again for a good 7 minutes or so, when suddenly the sky brightens up from directly above. And miraculously, the sun has managed to jump to the midday point without us even seeing it move. And around 10 minutes after that, the old cloud trick makes a comeback, totally shrouding the sun from view again, until it then jumps all the way over to the western horizon and is now obscured from view by the buildings. I had to do a mad dash to the other side of the map just so as not to miss the final stage of the sun's journey. But of course, the result was predictable, and it just hung out in the same spot for a while before eventually blinking out of existence again. And that is when I noticed the moon. Now, the moon cycle in the original Dying Light didn't actually make an appearance straight after sundown, and the city would be plunged into darkness for a terrifying few minutes. But eventually, it would rise up from the horizon, steadily getting brighter, until it cast long shadows of its own among the buildings, and travelled in an arc through the sky before disappearing behind the horizon again. So another fine example then of how well realised the whole day and night cycle was in the original. As you'd expect, of course, when Dying Light is literally the name of the game. So would you be at all surprised to discover that the moon in Dying Light 2 doesn't slowly rise up over the horizon, and it simply appears in the sky within seconds of the lights going out? There's no period of darkness beforehand, so not only is there no real Dying Light effect in the sequel, but it doesn't actually get dark at all. The moon simply appears on cue, and after initially increasing in brightness, it doesn't do anything else all night. In fact, it literally doesn't move at all, and it just stays there static in the sky to the north of the city until it simply disappears again at daybreak. Okay, so you could argue that none of this really affects the gameplay, and as I said earlier, Dying Light 2 isn't a bad game when viewed as a whole. I am genuinely confused though as to why many elements of the game not only fail to improve on the now 8-year-old original, but they haven't even come close to recreating what was achieved in it. I wouldn't even say that this is a matter of opinion, because you can see for yourself that the day and night cycle in Dying Light behaved exactly how you'd expect it to, while the DL2 one is more like being in the Truman Show.
Cue the sun.
So is this news to you, or have you already noticed this before? Either way, let me know in the comments what you think about it, and if you enjoyed the video then please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers!